I think every Yu-Gi-Oh player out there has at least one deck from the anime that they absolutely love to play in real life. And the deck that I'm showing you guys today is no different. By now, you guys probably know about my love for ancient gears. And when I first saw the Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns anime and I saw the Ignis archetype in action, you could say that the deck pretty much caught my eye. See what I did there? Anyway, enough of the cheesy puns. I'm here to bring you guys an Ignister deck profile that I've been working on ever since Ignition Assault got released. So if you guys enjoy deck profiles just like this, then be sure to hit the like button. And if you haven't so already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you stay updated on my latest Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Also, be sure to use my TCG Player affiliate link in the description below so that way you can support the channel as you buy the cards that you want. And I am very happy that you guys have been using this link in order to help support the channel. So be sure to keep that up, guys. So with that being said, it's time to link into this Ignister deck profile. To start off for the monsters, of course, I'm running 3 copies of a Chi-Chi Ignister. This lets you search your deck for your level 4 or lower Ignister monsters except itself. And it has an effect where at the start of the damage step, when your Cybers monster battles, that you can banish this card from your graveyard and destroy that monster. So you're probably wondering why you would want to destroy your own monster. Well, to put it simply, you would have to associate this card with Fire Phoenix Ignister. More on that later. Next up, I am running 3 copies of Picari Ignister. So yeah, I'm maxing out on both Picari and a Chi-Chi. So just like a Chi-Chi searches out your Ignister monsters, Picari searches out your AI spells and traps. And it also has a neat effect on the field where you can target another Ignister monster you control and make that Ignister monsters level 4 until the end of the turn. After that, I am running 2 copies of Doyon Ignister. So Doyon is the one that lets you recycle the cards from your graveyard. It has one effect where you can recycle your Ignister monster. It doesn't have to be level 4 or lower. It can be any Ignister monster from your graveyard. Also, if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Cybers monster, then you recycle an AI spell or trap from your graveyard. Next, 2 copies of Bururu Ignister. So this card lets you send Ignister monsters from your deck to your graveyard. Also has a pretty cool effect where you can special summon back the monster that you used as synchro material along with Bururu for the synchro summon of a Cybers monster. So let's say you're going into Cybers Quantum Dragon with Bururu and Doyon. After you brought out your Cybers Quantum Dragon, for example, then you can special summon back your Doyon. And the last Ignister monster that I'm running in my main deck is Doshin Ignister. Only 1 copy of that. It's a free special summon if you control any Ignister monster. And it also has a neat effect where you can recycle a Cybers Link monster and then search your deck for I Love Fusion. As you guys could probably tell by now, I'm not running any Cybers Ritual support. And there are 2 reasons why. For one, even if you have Water Leviathan Ignister in your hand already, if you don't have the proper ritual spell, then the Water Leviathan is just pretty much a brick at that point. I mean, you could use a Picari's effect to search your deck for Eyes Ritual or a Cybers Witch, but I would rather that you use Picari's effect to search your deck for the Island or for Idol Reborn. From what I remember, there are already 2 Ignister monsters in the OCG that are already level 5 or higher. Until we get those other Ignister monsters, I don't really see myself running Hiyari at this point. Maybe in a future update, but I'm just waiting on the time when we actually do get those other Ignister monsters. Now for the rest of the monsters on my main deck, I am running 3 copies of Balancer Lord. This has a soft once per turn effect where you can pay 1,000 life points and gain an additional normal summon of a Cybers monster this turn. And it has a really cool effect, which is personally my favorite effect between the 2, where if this card is banished, then you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand. It doesn't have to be a Cybers monster, it can be any level 4 or lower monster from your hand. Afterwards, 2 copies of Lady Debug. I just feel that 3 copies is just a brick if this card's effect doesn't resolve successfully. So 2 copies of Debug is just enough for me. Next for my monsters, I am running 1 Math Mech Addition and 1 Subtraction. I am looking for other ways in which I can special summon my monsters even if I don't have Ignister Island on my field. So Addition and Subtraction has the same effect where you can target a monster on the field, actually a face-up monster on the field, and you can special summon either of them. So Addition lets that target gain 1,000 attack, and Subtraction takes away 1,000 attack. Pretty obvious why. Yeah, they're not called addition and subtraction for nothing. I also run one backup secretary. Just like addition and subtraction, it is a free special summon. After that, one copy of Prohibit Snake. It says here at the start of the damage step, if your Cyber Snake monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and return that opponent's monster to the hand. And like I said, it has a way of recycling any of the level 4 or lower Cybers monsters from your graveyard. And has happened when your Cybers monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard. So you banish one card from your graveyard and then target a level 4 or lower Cybers monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And for the last of the monsters in my main deck, I am running one copy of Microcoder. Aside from Balancer Lord and Lady Debug, this is probably my favorite main deck monster in this build today. And those Signet spells and traps that you search off of Microcoder can really help, whether you're trying to continue your combo or if you're trying to set up for your opponent's plays during their turn. And I'll show you what I mean when I get to those Signet spells and traps. For the spells, I am running 3 copies of Ignister Island. Of course, this is the field spell for the Ad Ignister archetype, and it's pretty much the card that really lets this deck go off. Now, just in case you guys are confused from that first effect of Ignister Island, I am running plenty of Ignister monsters. I'm running plenty of copies of each of these Ignister monsters here. So let's say, for example, that you special summon Doyon off of Island's effect. For the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon any monsters with Island's effect that have the same original attribute. In other words, you cannot special summon a copy of Doyon, and you cannot special summon Don Yoribo off of Island's effect. Don Yoribo is the other dark monster for the Ad Ignister archetype, but from what I remember, nobody really plays that monster. Afterwards, I run 2 copies of Idol Reborn, obviously the monster reborn for the deck. Then after that, I run 1 copy of I Love Fusion. Some people would like to associate this card with super polymerization, which is fine, but I would like to associate this more to Fusion of Fire of the Salamangreat archetype. Just like Fusion of Fire, you're able to use monsters that your opponent controls as fusion material for the Cybers Fusion monsters that you want to bring out. Next up, I run 2 copies of Signet Mining and 1 copy of Signet Backdoor. You guys can replace the Signet Backdoor if you want to with another copy of Signet Mining, but I just feel like I just want options in this deck. So Signet Mining has pretty decent synergy with cards like Ignister Island, since Island can reset itself later. And since you're running Balancer Lord, you can banish Balancer Lord so you can search your deck for a monster whose attack is 1700 or lower, like a Chi-Chi Ad Ignister. And since you banished your Balancer Lord, you can special summon the Ad Ignister monster right away, or any other level 4 or lower monster from your hand. Next, 2 copies of Pot of Desires. From what I've seen, I haven't seen that many people run this card in the Ad Ignister deck, but I feel that this deck lacks a lot of draw power, so I decided to include Pot of Desires anyway. You are running multiples of some of the cards in this deck, so I'm not that worried of banishing those extra copies. Then afterwards, Foolish Burial Goods, of course, to get Ignister Island into your graveyard, and then Foolish Burial to get Balancer Lord, for example, in the graveyard. Gold Sarcophagus to banish Balancer Lord to gain its effect. Upstart Goblin, another draw power spell, obviously. And then Terraforming, Monster Reborn. And last but not least, I only run 2 traps, and that is Signet Conflict. So yeah, the Signet Mining, Signet Backdoor, and Signet Conflict are all searchable off of Microcoder. There is one other card that I wanted to run at first, but I feel like that we don't have enough support in order to warrant running this card. And that card is World Legacy Sorrow. It says, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card or monster effect while you control a code-linked monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So this is basically the counter trap for the World Legacy archetype. As far as I can remember, I think you can set this card from your deck with Live the World Key Blade Master, which is coming out in Dual Overload just recently. And we don't have any Cybers main deck monsters of the World Legacy archetype to warrant running this card, so I decided to leave this card out for now. But if you guys really are interested in running this card, you can, let's say you can replace Foolish Burial and Balancer Lord with 2 copies of World Legacy Sorrow, just so that way you have 2 copies instead of just 1. Perhaps the one downside with Dark Fluid, guys, is that you would have to commit a lot of resources in order to really get its full potential out of Dark Fluid. So you guys don't have to run this card if you don't want to, but I like it since I'm running at least one Fusion, Synchro, and Ignis monster in my extra deck, and you're able to get out at least one counter in order to gain its effect. Afterwards, I'm running one copy of Dark Templar Ignis. This card is the soul charge of this whole deck. Some people would say that it's actually Ignis Island, but I think Dark Templar is more closely associated with soul charge than Island. The monsters that you special summon off of that first effect have their effects negated. However, you're going to be using them for your combos anyway, so that's not that big of a problem for me. It also has a second effect where when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon a Cybers monster from your graveyard. And afterwards, I run one copy of Fire Phoenix Ignis. I remember at the beginning of the video where I said that you would have to associate a Chi-Chi with Fire Phoenix. Well, this is the reason why. It says here, you can, if this card is destroyed by card effect, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls. And it says here, during the next standby phase after this link summon card was destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon it back from your graveyard. And it has a first effect where it says, during damage calculation, if this card attacks, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to this card's attack. And if you do, your opponent takes no battle damage from that battle. Afterwards, I run one copy of Transcode Talker. This is the card that lets you special summon a Link 3 or lower Cybers monster from your graveyard. But the first effect of Transcode Talker is personally my favorite. While this card is co-linked, it and its co-linked monsters gain 500 attack. Also, your opponent cannot target any of them with card effects. Afterwards, I do run an additional Code Talker monster called Code Talker Inverted. And this is a link to Code Talker monster. And it says here, if this card is link summoned, you can special summon one Cybers monster from your hand to your zone this card points to. After that, one copy of Cybers Wicked. I've seen builds run 2 copies of Cybers Wicked, so you guys can do that if you want to. I just wanted to leave room for more options in my extra deck. Afterwards, I run one copy of Update Jammer. I've heard a lot of people use this card when it comes to Salamangreat. And I also run one copy of Lingaribo. Just like Cybers Wicked, you guys can run an additional copy if you want to. I also run Salamangreat Balinks. This is mainly here so that way I can go into Salamangreat Violet Chimera. Not much to explain there. So like I said, it's here for fusion material for Violet Chimera. And I do run one copy of that. So let's say that you're using both Balinks as well as Fire Phoenix. Their total attack equals 2800. So this card will gain 1400 attack when it's fusion summoned. It also says once per battle during damage calculation, if this monster battles a monster whose current attack is different from its original attack, you can double this card's attack during damage calculation only. I also run Earth Golem Ignis. This requires a Cybers and a Link monster. After this card is fusion summoned, you take no damage for the rest of the turn. If this card attacks a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, this card gains attack equal to its own original attack during the damage step only. When this card is destroyed by battle, you can target a Cybers monster in your graveyard, except Earth Golem Ignis, and then special summon it. Cybers Quantum Dragon, as long as you control a Link monster, then your opponent can only target this card with card effects and for attacks. And it has a soft once return effect where it says, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return that opponent's monster to the hand. Also, this card can make a second attack in a row. Afterwards, I run one copy of both Light Dragon and Wind Pegasus Ignis. Light Dragon pops opponents' face-up monsters by detaching a material, and Wind Pegasus is the same thing, except it pops your opponent's spells and traps. And Light Dragon lets you special summon a Link monster from your graveyard when another Cybers monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent. And it has a neat protection ability where you can detach material from this monster if it would be destroyed by card effect. Wind Pegasus has the additional effect where if another card you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is on the field or in your graveyard, you can banish this card, then target a card your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck. And last but not least, I'm running Cybers Reminder. It's a rank 3 Cybers monster, so the only cards that you really have in order to XC summon this card is Backup Secretary and Bururu. But this is mainly here just so I can recycle my Cyanide spells and traps. You guys don't have to run this card if you don't want to, but it's here just in case you guys want it. If you guys want, you can replace Cyber's Reminder with IP Masquerena, and that would also be a good card to run in this deck as well. So that's it for this deck profile, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to help support the channel, then be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you stay updated on my latest Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Also, if you guys want to help further support the channel, don't forget to use my TCG Player affiliate link in the description so that way you can support the channel as you buy the cards that you want. This has been the Mage of Ancients. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you again.